And George will get this on the tape. I'm going to start in 3 seconds. Good day, everyone. This is Dr. Jeffrey Lant, the CEO of WorldProfit, and I have such a thrilling task today. One of the great things about being a CEO is you meet the most interesting people, and Wallace Johnson is right at the top of the tree. It so happens that I was reading in the Boston Globe summary of the year 2012 about little vignettes about some of the famous people that had died during the year, and of course Neil Armstrong is right at the top of that list. We are so fortunate at WorldProfit to have one of Neil Armstrong's colleagues, Wallace Johnson, out from Alameda, California, as he always says, across the bay from San Francisco, with us today. He's going to be giving his remarks and reading an article that I wrote at the time of Neil Armstrong's passing. So Wallace, it's with the greatest possible thrill that I'm so looking forward to this. And again, everyone, please just pay attention and be patient. You're listening to a bit of national history. Wallace Johnson on Neil Armstrong.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lant, for that nice introduction. I can't start reading this article without some personal comments. Dr. Lant has done me a great honor in the past when he started his article writings by bringing up and celebrating my 86th birthday. And once again, he is doing me the honor of letting me read one of his articles, which he recently published, entitled My Huckleberry Friend, Moon River and Me. Thoughts on Neil Armstrong, hero, dead at 82, August the 25th, 2012. Dr. Lant knows that I was personally involved with the Apollo program during the 60s. I worked on it for about 10 years until we successfully landed Neil Armstrong and his crew on the moon. A feat, an accomplishment that shook the world in the excitement of it. I was fortunate in working with that man on many occasions, sitting in the simulator with him, explaining some of the functions that I had learned and was passing on to him. And to think that that man was the man that set foot on the surface of the moon, the first man to do so, honors me in a way that I cannot explain. In any extent, this article is entitled, as I said, for a man who was a quiet man, a scholar, who went back to his studies to pass on to the coming generation those things which he found to be most important. Not living in the adulation that he had coming to him. He was, as I said, very quiet, soft-spoken, a good-hearted man, brilliant, and a test pilot of test pilots. And he proved that on more than one occasion, saving his own life more than once. My Huckleberry Friend, Moon River and Me. Thoughts on Neil Armstrong, hero, dead at 82, August the 25th, 2012, by Dr. Jeffrey Lant. Author's Program Note. Do you remember where you were July the 20th, 1969? It was one of the iconic dates in the history of our species. Like virtually everyone in the United States and the world, I was glued to the television. In my case, in San Francisco. I was mesmerized by an unfolding event that previously could only be imagined. I was watching a representative of our species, an American man, walk on the untrodden moon and make us all so proud, not least for the simplicity and universality of his short remarks, a few words that will live forever. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. The bar I was in erupted into prolonged cheers at these words, crackling through the distance, rained upon us like a benediction. First the words, then mayhem. I shouted along with the entire world, hugged, kissed total strangers, people I had never seen before and would never see again. All because one man, seeing clearly, if imperfectly, in the grainy pictures from on high, had done a thing every infant can do, take a first step. At the moment it happened, we were all drawn together. There was a sense of a prolonged joy, relief, and pride in our great republic, and what it could do when it focused on the project at hand. Doing it right, doing it the can-do American way. As a nation, we needed this shot in the arm. We needed this reaffirmation. We needed to be reminded that there's nothing that we cannot do when we insist on doing it. That day, the day we'll all remember, like it happened yesterday, was many things. A once-in-a-lifetime thrill, a risky, even dangerous challenge successfully met, essential confirmation that we were indeed a people of dexterity and destiny. But above all, we were still inhabitants of that shining city on a hill, a people of vision, a great goals set and great goals achieved. No wonder there were hugs and kisses all around. At the center of our jubilation about taming the moon was one decent, grounded man, the kind of man next door that we all knew and relied upon, and we saw him and heard him at his essential work. We were glad in our souls that such a one was treading the moon for all of us, for he was one of us, the best of us, the very person that we instinctively knew was so right for the work at hand. This was the true importance and lasting legacy of Neil Armstrong, the right man at the right place at the time that we needed him. How had this crucial serendipity happened? America's lunar perambulations, but not yet Armstrong's part, was predictable from October 4, 1957. This was the fateful day of another iconic event, the day the Soviet Union, the deadliest of our enemies, sent Earth's first artificial satellite into orbit. The result was mass terror, profound fear, and a certainty that the Ruskies were indeed coming, were in fact already on their way. Sputnik, the precursor of American subjugation and humiliation. Like all my countrymen, like concerned peoples everywhere, I looked up that perfect fall evening and saw a future where everywhere around me, the verities of our national life, its blessed contours, its fundamental certainties was all at risk. My life no longer mine, but waiting to be claimed by clever partisans of the evil empire, our soon-to-be masters. No one who was not present that night can understand this profound angst, despair, and horror at what we all knew was the impending apocalypse. We all vowed that this would not occur, and if it did, that we, not the Russians, would emerge victorious, whatever was required. We were not born to be second-rate, to fill second place, and the politicians who understood this and spoke to and promised a great national revival were the ones who captured our attention, our votes, and our admiration. John F. Kennedy was such a man, and he recognized that sending a man to the moon and bringing him safely home was the adamant symbol the world needed to confirm America's place at the top. Such a mission, dangerous, expensive, unprecedented, was just the tonic needed to repair and reinvigorate the body politic. On May 25, 1961, before a joint session of Congress, Kennedy threw down the gauntlet. We would go to the moon, no ifs, ands, or buts. Moon River. Just as the president was making his epochal announcement, this historic comment to lunar and planetary exploration, a song was sweeping the nation. It was Moon River by Johnny Mercer, lyrics and Henry Mancini music, sung by Audrey Hepburn in the film Breakfast at Tiffany. It won the 1961 Academy Award for Best Original Song. Its lyrics might have been written for this new space program. Moon River, wider than a mile. I'm crossing you in style someday. Smart people, people with insight, realized Hepburn wasn't just singing about a lazy southern river, but far more significant, the actual moon itself, my huckleberry friend. And so Holly Golightly became an advocate of lunar liftoff, Moon River, and me. But who would lead the expedition called Apollo 11, crossing the moon in style? There were just a handful of men qualified to do so. One of them was Neil Armstrong, naval aviator, aerospace engineer, a level-headed Ohio man who had, since joining the NASA Astronaut Corps in 1962, moved up in the program steadily, consistently. One important reason why being the fact that he was liked by all, his ego firmly in control. This was a very important factor in that hothouse of male egos called NASA. He was the ultimate team player who made it clear that the powers that be, quote, wherever you're going, I'm going your way, end quote. It was a message heard loud and clear. Here was a man who understood not only the complicated technical aspects, but the fact that the lunar mission was also, and more importantly, a signal to Americans that we were back on top again, while reassuring everyone else that our motives were generous, humane, and in no way threatening to them. The Eagle had landed. Thus, on that day, on our nation's pride in July of 1969, it was Neil Armstrong who commanded the mission and thrilled an expectant world with the announcement that they had landed, followed about 6 hours and 30 minutes later with the words that ensured his place in history and our hearts. Inevitably, honors were rained upon him and his crew, co-pilots Buzz Aldrin and third astronaut Michael Collins. They deserved all of it. Now Neil Armstrong is dead. His last important mission accomplished. That is the one which commenced the minute he landed on Earth again after his famous walkabout. This mission was doing nothing to tarnish, diminish, or undermine what he and his colleagues had achieved. Here again he did the necessary, being the perfect keeper of the flame and a true hero. Modest, unassuming, selfless, a man who was vividly and completely aware of the great significance of his work, never needing to say so. Wait a second. And so, this son of Ohio lived out his days in Ohio and died in Ohio, at peace with himself, his community, his professional colleagues, and his God who had, we know, shed his grace on thee, the man whose single step on the moon signaled the giant leap for mankind. Now the eagle is ascending again, free to fly high and far. Quote, there's such a lot of world to see, end quote. And so no one better to find it for the rest of us than Neil Armstrong, humanity's guide into the limitless cosmos and its unequal beauty and awe. A musical note. For the music to accompany this article, Moon River, go to any search engine. Think of Neil Armstrong and all the star voyagers as you listen, as you have never listened before. The lyrics' words were surely applied to them. About the author, Harvard-educated Dr. Jeffrey Land is CEO of WorldProfit, providing a great range of online services for small and home-based businesses. It's been my honor to read this article, the latest from Dr. Land, honoring that great accomplishment by a great American, a quiet, unassuming hero. And it was a pleasure in my 87 years on this earth to have a small part to play with it. And that concludes the article, Dr. Lant. I want to thank everybody for your indulgence.
I want to thank you, Wallace, for reading that article. It inevitably would mean a great deal to you. I'm sure that there were flashes, as you read of the people as you knew them. And you will always be a part of this Apollo program, its history, its people, its goals, its objectives, its results. And so we are very proud that you chose to spend some of your senior time with us, not just today, but for all the months and years you've been with us. We want to thank you.